Okay, it looks like we are live now. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the information session about computing and digital media courses here at Heart of Worcestershire College. We have got live with us. My name is James Duckhouse. I'm the curriculum leader and one of the teachers for computing. We're also joined live by Peter Tierney. Peter's one of the lecturers on the game design course. We've got Tina and Alex, who are two of our personal tutors, Vicky and Laura, two of our learning coaches, and Jan representing student services this afternoon. Hopefully you will see that there is a question and answer, a Q&A button live on your screen, so feel free as we're talking, if there's something that you'd like to ask, please do type a question and one of the presenters will pick it up and will try to answer the question as we go throughout. Any questions we miss as we go through, we will make sure that we pick up at the end. Though I imagine being sort of an hour to an hour and a half, depending upon how many questions we might have towards the end, but this is what I'm sort of going to try to cover. And I appreciate that in ordinary circumstances, had this been last year, excuse me, we would have been in one of our classrooms. You would have all been together, you'd have been seeing us, and it might be more interactive, but please do chip in on the Q&A, and there is also a sort of a chat window as well, so do feel free to interact with us and ask questions. A lot of information is going to be given to you this afternoon. Obviously, with a lot of things going on at the moment, there's an awful lot that's sort of changing on almost on a daily basis. So a lot of this information we are giving you is accurate as of the moment. I am imagining running another one of these sessions, though, sort of later in August with sort of more information about the sort of start of the year. But what I want to talk about this afternoon is sort of how we get started, sort of this process between today and being in a classroom in September and studying on one of our two courses. I want to talk to you about the learner agreement and what it is that you'd be signing up for when you start on one of our courses. Give you an overview of the different courses just to make sure that you know what it is that you'll be studying. I want to talk then very specifically about English and maths and work experience, which are vital elements to the course. I will then introduce our personal tutors, our personal learning coaches, and Jan representing student services today to talk about the different levels of support that we're able to offer throughout, including financial support. And then I'll end with a couple of key dates. I'll give you the sort of the term dates of when we start and some contact details at the end as well. So it's kind of where we're looking to go. But just try to explain the process, and again, you will get some sort of details later on. But in order to get started, get enrolled onto the course, we need to complete the online enrolment forms. Those can be done, they'll be done online. They can be done at any point during July and August. And that's this filling in the details. So we have contact details, we have personal details. So you can then say, yes, I want to start on this course, please. So that's sort of enrolling and signing up, if you like. That goes on throughout July and August. We then get GCSE results day when you will get your results and you will share those with us. And then we have an induction couple of days. So early September, you meet your tutor, you will meet your new classmates, you get essential information given to you, lots of sort of activities, making sure that we're you know what you're doing, you know where you're going to go, and so on. So those first couple of days of just a lot of information and an induction into the course. We then have a few weeks, what we call it our course confirmation period. So those first few weeks of term, where what we're looking at with you is making sure that you've made the right choice. Some of you might have sort of made this decision to come onto a computing or a digital media course quite early on in the academic year, just ended. So we just need to make sure that what you've chosen to do is indeed right for you. It's the right subject and at the right level. And those sort of first couple of weeks, if you get to the point where you're starting to think, maybe this is not what I'd want to do, we can work with you to see whether or not there might be something that's more suitable for you. Once we get past that sort of first month or so, we're into October. We then complete all your work. You sort of you do the coursework, you prepare for the online exams. Hopefully you pass your course, and at this time next year, you will be getting the confirmation that you've passed, and then progressing either onto the next level of study with us, or maybe onto an apprenticeship or employment. So that's sort of the process we're going to go through in the next 12 months. So what is it that you will actually be signing up for when you join us in September? You'll be signing up to do either a level 2 qualification or a level 3 qualification with us, and I'll explain the difference between those two as we go throughout. The level 2 is a 600-hour program over the year, give or take roughly 20 hours a week. The level 3 is a 900-hour program, so that's give or take 30 hours a week. I'll explain what's the differences between those two and how they all work, but each of them will comprise 5 main elements, as you can see here on the screen. So the main qualification diploma, so that either studying computing or studying digital media and game design. So you'll be doing a diploma in that vocational subject area. You may be resitting English and or maths, depending upon what course you're on. You may be resitting the English and maths GCSE. You will be doing work experience and employability skills. You will have support through our various support people in terms of a tutorial program, and there will be an element of private study and online learning. So those are the 5 different components and the 5 different things, excuse me, that you will be studying on a day-to-day basis. That learner agreement is our contract with you, and I'm talking to the students in the room. I appreciate I may have some parents also listening in, but typically we ask the individual student to sign that agreement. That's that contract as to what we will deliver and what we ask of the student. The student standards agreement, that sort of learner agreement, does include an opt-in statement that allows us to communicate home and talk to parents about or guardians about progress, etc., etc. A little word here. It says that it is an opt-in. Obviously, we have to ensure that we're complying with data protection regulations through GDPR, that we ask you to opt into that agreement. However, for every person, however old they are, every one of our learners, we do need an emergency contact details. So some next of kin that we can contact, for example, if you're taken ill whilst at college and need someone to come and collect you to make sure that you can get home safely. So for every one of our learners, we need a next of kin and emergency contact detail. We genuinely believe that coming to college should be a partnership between the individual learner, the teaching staff, the support staff, and the parents as well. So whilst we try to communicate as much as possible with the individual student, we also want to involve the parents as much as we can as well. So we do ask that all of our learners do opt in to allow us to communicate home with parents. So if parents want to see how their son, their daughter is doing, and whether they're coping with assignments or whether they need a bit of extra support, we do have that permission to communicate that information. If we are refused permission, and sometimes there are very genuine reasons why we shouldn't communicate with somebody from home. That's typically where households are split between, families are split between 2 households, for example, and there is sometimes a very good reason why we communicate with one parent and not the other. That information we absolutely need to know. However, if you are thinking that you'll come into college and go, I don't want you talking to my parents because for no reason, if we don't have a valid reason and a parent rings us up to ask about progress, the only thing that we will be able to state is that unfortunately we do not have permission in order to communicate with the parent. That makes it a very awkward conversation for us. It can make it a very awkward conversation with you when you get home as well. So in terms of opting in with communication, I would strongly urge you to make sure that you do tick that box.
Can I just interject there?
Please do, Jan.
It also works the other way, that if you've refused us the ability to talk to the parent, then that means if ever you're off sick and you need the parent to phone in on your behalf, we can't take that phone call because you've refused that. Likewise, if they want to phone in to ask about your finances, I won't be able to discuss it with them because you've refused that for us to do that. So it can work both ways. So it's not always to the student's advantage to do that.
Absolutely, really good point. Thank you, Jan. Yeah. Okay. So what else does the agreement set out? The agreement sets out what you can expect from us, which primarily is that you will get that study program, those teaching hours and the level of support, both from an academic, pastoral and student support perspective. It sets out what you will be studying and how you will be studying and when you will be studying. It also sets out what we expect from you, and it's a 2-page document. It's quite comprehensive. Parents do get to see it as well, so you can sort of see what our expectations are. But I summarize it by saying that we ask you to attend, we ask you to behave, we ask you to commit to your study. Three sort of rules which I believe are more than reasonable. Attend. We ask that you attend your lectures because you want to get the teaching, you want to learn those skills, you want to learn the new technologies and sort of how to do things. And there is a very clear link between students who attend and students who pass. It is as simple as if you attend your lectures, you will pass the course with us. We ask that you behave. It's an adult learning environment. The rules are different from school. There's sort of the little bit more freedom to behave, and sort of you're not sort of monitored as closely as you might be expected when you were at school. But we ask that you behave like that adult. We ask that you make sure that you can learn when in college, and that you're not stopping others learning. And I think it's important for you to hear today that not only we ask that you're behaving, but that everybody will be asked that and told that, so that if somebody is stopping you learning because they're not behaving, you let us know so we can deal with it, because we want you to get the best out of your college and the time that you have with us. And committing to your study, there's a great number of opportunities that you will have to be able to do different things, to learn different things, to interact with different people. We ask that you commit to that and sort of fully embrace it. It is absolutely true that you will get out of it what you do put in. Okay,
James, sorry to interrupt. I've had a couple of questions already.
Okay.
The online enrolment form, is that being emailed out, or do they just go to the website?
I believe they go to the website, but I will be talking to the admissions tutors, and I think you will expect an email as well.
Yeah, I think they are being sent out, and I think they're aiming to do that this week.
Yeah,
possibly.
Thank you.
Good question, though. Thank you. Was that you said 2 questions, Pete?
No, a couple of people with the same question.
Oh,
so
okay, that's
very
fine.
good question.
It is a very good question. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I'll move on from that, and I've tried on this slide to sort of indicate sort of what you might expect to see in a sort of a typical week. So you will have in-class sessions and tutorials. We try where possible to spread the in-class time over 4 days a week. It allows the 5th day for sort of the self-study, remote working and work experience to be done over that sort of 5th day. So typically in for sort of 3.5, 4 days a week in class, up to approximately 20 hours. That will be a mixture of formal lectures, sort of more sort of informal seminar workshop styles, with some practical activities as well, plus the tutorials as well there. So a whole mixture of different sort of in-class activities. and that will account for the main qualification, that's computing, or the digital media and game design qualification, plus English and maths as well, if you need to study that because you haven't yet got the grade 4. So give or take 4 days, 20 hours in a classroom. On top of that, some work experience, that's either placements or employer set projects. And this is why this big difference on the earlier slide about the level 2 programme and the level 3 programme. Our level 2 students will do 30 hours of work experience in the year. They will work typically on a couple of projects, and that they have an opportunity to do some job shadowing as well, up to a maximum of roughly 30 hours in the year. So give or take about an hour a week on average. The level 3 students, on the other hand, we're part of a national scheme with a pilot for making level 3 programs a lot more sort of vocational and technical and employer ready, and sort of working with employers rather than just sitting in a classroom. So our level 3 students will do 300 hours. Again, that's give or take sort of 10 hours a week on average, working on a variety of projects with employers and some placements. Typically, a project might involve an employer coming into the classroom or doing a sort of a live webinar style, a bit like this, where they might be based away from sort of the town where you're studying. They work with you, they set a project, they tell you what they want. That might be, we've got a couple of ones where they want a new website built, they want an app built, some that are looking for some graphics and a bit of graphic design work, some sort of 3D models being done for a charity, all sorts of different things that employers are asking us to help them with. You then work either individually or in groups on that project, and you report your progress throughout the sort of the term before finally showing off your finished product to the employer. Later in the year, we'll be looking where we can to find some placements where you go out into an employer's workplace, or maybe work remotely with an employer and actually go to work. As you would possibly imagine, the sort of the scenario at the moment is that employers are really keen to work with us on projects, and actually there's some really good exciting stuff going on. Finding full placements often is quite a challenge, and we have, give or take, we have about 300 students across the 3 campuses, Bromsgrove, Redditch and Worcester, studying on these different courses. We don't have 300 employers begging us to work with us in terms of providing a placement. So placements tend to be limited. They tend to be available for those students who apply to do a placement by putting in a CV, by often attending an interview and learning really valuable skills anyway. So we work to try to help you find placements. Some students will come to us and already do have a placement, maybe somewhere where you've been through school or through a family friend, where you can go and do some work experience. If that is the case, that is absolutely fantastic and very much welcomed. It can be either voluntary or can be paid. So if you've got a part-time job, for example, as long as it is vocationally relevant. So the rules as laid down by the government is it has to be something around sort of helping your digital skills. It can't be sort of shop work or sort of something like that. It has to be sort of something where you are doing something alongside digital or media related. So work experience, and I'll talk more in depth shortly, but a really important part of the qualification. And then outside that, again, I think a really another massively important part in terms of the study program would be self-study. You will have lectures and be taught when in class, but it is expected that you will be working outside of that lesson time, either on assignments, or you will have some set tasks done on a weekly basis that sort of supplement that in-class learning that you're doing with the teachers as well. Okay, so What are the courses that you can study? Well, you would be studying one of two programs I've mentioned. Sorry, excuse me, mentioned level 2 and level 3. I will go over each of these in turn. Whether you start on the level 2 or the level 3 program will be dictated in the first instance by the qualifications that you come to us within September. Okay, so whichever of the courses that you start with, we will look at your GCSE grades, and that's sort of our starting point. So bear with me, there's quite a few courses to go through, and I appreciate some of you may be more interested in the IT and computing, some may be more interested in the digital media and game design courses, so I'll go over all of them. I won't go through every module in detail because otherwise we literally would be here all day. However, what I'll try to do is sort of skip over and give you a sort of an idea about what you might be learning on each of the courses. For the level 2 diploma in IT, level 2 diploma is a 1-year full-time course. It is aimed at those students who are getting grade 3s or higher in their GCSEs. So typically these are people who maybe get a couple of 4s, a couple of 3s in their GCSEs when they come out in September. And you will see there the different modules that are showing on your screen. There's sort of a nice mix there of sort of IT and sort of computer science. So whether you're studying IT at school or computer science, or indeed if you're new to it, you will do some programming, so that's software development. We use a whole variety of programs before ending up with Visual Basic as our programming language on the level 2 course, graphic design and web design, hardware systems and control systems, so sort of a bit of robotics there. So what you're seeing on the level 2 program over the year is sort of the different strands that cover the sort of the IT world, sort of programming, networking and hardware, and graphic design and web design. To get onto that course, we're looking at you getting grade 3s or higher. Pete, do you want to talk to us about the media course for level 2?
Okay, yeah. Level 2 digital media course, you'll notice it doesn't include the word games in the title. It's an entry point into any of the creative media products. So at the college, we offer level 2, and it could be an entry into the games course at level 3. It could also be an entry point into the film and TV course taught by Alex and his team. You'll get to meet Alex later. So it does cover a wide range of the creative subjects in media. And you'll see there that we tried to split them up into terms. It doesn't quite fit into that model. So graphic design, using digital imaging programs to make things like logos and mock-ups, publishing to make booklets, brochures, that kind of thing, desktop publishing applications. You've got a couple of units there in trimester 1, media industry and media audiences. Those are more the theory side of things, understanding the industry as an industry, as a job. You know, we want to make money, we want to get a job. So how do we work in that industry? How do we communicate within that industry? We've got website design. Seems self-explanatory. Making it is a basic website. It's more to do with the visual rather than the nuts and bolts. So that would be more a computing rather than a media subject. If you're into coding, you want to look at computing. Game design, making a 2D game using Scratch. In pitching a game and digital audio. Pitching a game is really important because you can have the world's best idea, but unless you can convince somebody to part with the cash and to give you the money to make it, it will end up being an idea. So actually communicating, doing a presentation and convincing somebody else that your idea is worth their time and money is really important. Audio production. Imagine a game without sound, it wouldn't work. Animation, doing 2D animation, that's been really popular with our students, making some very interesting and amusing animations. And moving image, which is video production. So it's not to the same extent as the film and TV course, but we do make a short video using digital editing techniques to make a short video. And we've had some really interesting, slightly disturbing videos in the past. I think the best one was when the world was taken over by, I think it was blueberry muffins and pancakes. I don't know, I would never have thought of that, but it was actually quite an interesting video. So that's just a brief overview. The same, what James was saying about the entry for level 2 at computing, the same applies for digital media. You are looking at people who are getting about 3s, particularly in maths and English, and are expecting to redo their maths and English. While I've got the mic, had a couple of questions. I think I may have deleted one without actually answering it. I do apologise. Some of you will have received an email about summer projects. It doesn't get graded and go towards your qualification grade, but it's very important as an entryway into the course. It shows sort of level you're working at. It shows your creativity. And if we were trying to decide whether you're on level 2 or level 3, if you're borderline for qualifications, it could be the thing that tips the scales in your favour if we do need some sort of evidence as to the level that you're working at. So that's important. Other question is about days of the week and whether it will be online or not. Simple answer, we don't know. I'm sure James will go into a bit more detail on that when he goes on about timetables. I will pass back to you now, James.
That's not a problem at all, and yeah, I will. And if I answer that question now, the honest truth is we don't know. As Peter says, we don't have a hotline to government and the Department for Education. We are following all of the government guidance. The government guidance that was published last week says that you will get a full programme of study. And it will be assessed later in the summer holiday as to the exact balance of on-site and online. Under any circumstances, every year we have a part of our course that is assessed and delivered online anyway, because we believe that digital professionals need to be able to learn new technologies, and there is an element of online study within all of the programs anyway. It is anticipated that there may be an element of online and an element of on-site delivery in September, but like I said, we will be following all the government guidance. The main priority that we have is to ensure that staff and students are all safe, and as you can appreciate, it's been a changing situation over the past few months, and it is entirely likely that it will be a changing situation over the next couple of months. That is why I want to do a session closer to the time where we will have a more definitive answer to that very good question. Okay, if I move on to from the level 2, those people who are getting grade 4s or higher will more than likely start on our level 3 provision. To get onto one of our level 3 courses, we are looking at 5 relevant GCSEs that are graded 4 or higher. That should include English and Maths at grade 4, and to go onto the computing course, ideally either IT or computer science, either's acceptable. That's not a mandatory requirement. I appreciate that not all schools offer in the right option blocks IT or computer science to be taken. Obviously it's preferred, but it's not mandatory. English or Maths, certainly if you've not got the grade 4 in both English and Maths, it is more likely you will be starting on level 2 rather than level 3, and doing that for the year to get the English and Maths up to the grade 4. The ideal situation coming on to level 3, because it's a fuller programme, with the work experience in the additional subjects that you'll be studying, you don't have as much time to resit English and Maths. A little bit of flexibility can be allowed with that though, but not a massive amount. Okay, so the computing course is studied. So the first year, it's the foundation diploma we refer to it as, and similar to the level 2 program, it's very much intended to sort of be an introduction to the world of IT and computing. So you will see in there programming and database development. You will see there in their IT systems, which include network computer systems. You will see web development, mobile app, and really interesting in their social media and business, this sort of understanding that as IT professionals, we are relying on sort of media technologies and how that might interact with different businesses. So people who are doing this course are people who want to be IT professionals. They might want to be coders, programmers, they might want to be web developers rather than web designers, which is sort of the interface design, how things look. This is more about the coding it and thinking about how it works. Network engineers, cloud engineers, sort of data analysts, all of those sort of career paths this course is suitable for. Year 1 studied over the year. It's a course equivalent to 1.5 A levels. So it's a qualification in its own right. At the end of the year, you'd qualify and get a foundation diploma. The expectation probably is that you then go on to study our second year, although it's not necessarily a requirement. We do get some students not quite sure, so they might do 1 year on computing and 1 year on the digital media course because they quite like sort of the design element, but want to do a bit of coding as well. So that is possible, although most students will move on to the extended diploma in the same subject. And year 2 looks a little bit like that. To get onto year 2, you need to have passed the foundation diploma year. That's the foundation diploma itself, the work experience, the English and maths, the private study, all of those different components need to have been passed over the year. And we then look at the different elements to this year. We've got IT service delivery, which is all about sort of customer service. So it's really important as IT professionals that we know how to manage projects and how to deal with customers. Software testing, we don't just write programs and hope that they're good enough. They have to go through rigorous testing and how to debug and test there. Cybersecurity, a really big important part as we're opening it up to cloud computing that you'll see there as we open up our systems so they are accessible from anywhere in the world. This is brilliant the way that digital technologies can do this, but we need to be very mindful of the security. So those two sort of couple together quite nicely, and very specifically a project, learning different ways that projects are managed, and graphics and animation there intended to sort of be rather than the focus that the media students would have in terms of sort of that being their primary study. It's more of a secondary element to the computing course and intended to sort of sit alongside the sort of the programming and software development in terms of the way that we make things look. Okay, so computing, back over to you, Pete, to talk about the digital media and game design programs at level 3.
Helps if I unmute my microphone, doesn't it?
Certainly does, Mr. Tini.
Got a couple of questions that I'll pop in here as well at this point, so we're not saving them all to the end. Yes, someone's asked if you complete level 2, can you go on to level 3 without meeting the other GCSE requirements? Essentially, yes, but. So if you complete a level 2, that by itself is the equivalent of getting 3 GCSEs. So it would put you in good stead, and also is a related subject. So for example, if you did level 2 digital media production, then assuming you got a pass, obviously, it would put you in a very good place to look at level 3. And the same for computing. The only reason I say but, it would be the complete study. So did you attend your maths and English if you needed to? Did you do your work experience? Did you do your online study? So we'd look at the complete program and have a discussion with you on that. But generally speaking, as long as you've successfully done level 2, it's intended for you to go on to level 3. So we wouldn't be looking for reasons to say no. We would be looking for reasons to say yes on that one. The other question, it's my favourite question. We get asked every single year, and it's the bit where I want to tell you what you want to hear, but I can't. Okay, what equipment do I need? You need a £2,000 Alienware PC. No, you don't. You want one, you can't have one. Okay. Essentially, in a normal year, we would say you will have all the equipment at college to complete all the work at college. And obviously, last year wasn't a normal year, or this academic year wasn't a normal year. So we did have a couple of instances where we were asking people to work from home. Essentially, you need a computer that can access the internet. If we find ourselves in a situation where we are still sending people home or we're having to work from home, then we might need to pick our tools to meet your needs. So we might go, well, actually this year we won't be using Unreal because not everybody can Unreal at home. It does require a gaming spec PC to run Unreal. So we might go, actually we'll do our games unit on a 2D engine that runs on a web browser and any computer can run it. So as long as you've got the basic access to the internet, you can get stuff done at home. But when we're at college, all the equipment is there for you. So we have the expensive computers, we have the software, and obviously we have the staff. So that's why you come to college. So having the extras at home is a bonus, but it doesn't mean if you can't afford a luxury PC that you can't complete the course. Okay, so back to these. Oh, James has escaped. I'm gonna have to talk slowly now so that he doesn't need the next slide because he's driving the PowerPoint. Okay. Right, so the spec for year 1 of the level 3, you'll notice it says games design at the top, but the actual course title is creative digital media production brackets games design. So it will cover the wider media sector as well. So we look at pre-production portfolio. That's the actual communication, the planning, thought that goes into a product before you make it. So things like planning stuff out, having a script, having a storyboard, having an actual idea of how the game is going to work, so gameplay mechanics. And you'll notice that follows on into games production in semester 2 in that column. They actually merge, they run side by side so that we're doing a certain amount of both of them. So you're doing the planning to go with your game. As I just mentioned, normally that would be Unreal. But if we do find ourselves in that situation where we are still doing some blended learning, we would look at transitioning that into a 2D engine that runs on any computer. We do have a film unit on our first year of our games course, which confuses some people. But you think about your games, the games that you play, how many of them have cutscenes that use cinematic properties? So they think about camera angle and edits and cuts and soundtracks and all the stuff that you would do to make a good film. You need to know to be able to make a good cutscene, although we do it live action. So we do have a film unit. Again, we have some very interesting submissions on that one. I actually got scared whilst marking once, which was brilliant. That meant the student was doing their job properly. Responding to a commission. Often we don't just get to make an idea and make a product that we like. We have to make a product that our boss likes or our employer likes. So how do we respond to that commission? So if someone gives us a commission, how do we respond to it? And that one is generally done in exam conditions. So we do all of the learning, but the actual commission, we don't know what it is until the day. But it's not an exam like you know it at school. It's not on the day. It's 4 weeks beforehand. You get the brief. You get time to do research. You're allowed to take a certain amount of notes in, and then you actually come up with a response. Media representations, that's actually understanding the media, how we use this to communicate meaning. So for example, you've all seen James on the video. He's a wonderful person, he's ever so nice, but if we wanted to make him look scary, we could do things with camera angle and lighting and music, what he's wearing, what tone of voice he uses. We could actually make him quite scary. You don't want to meet scary James, he's not nice, but he doesn't exist. So we can do these sort of things. So it's understanding those sort of techniques, that sort of language that we use across the whole of media. It can be as simple as red means danger, or it could be something a bit more nuanced. So that's understanding how to make a good, engaging product. And then media campaigns, which is essentially marketing. So you've got a product, how do you get people interested in it? You know, things like having a Twitter account for it, making teaser trailers or posters, or getting people interested in a product. So that's quite an interesting one from a teacher's point of view, because we have to tell you to get on Twitter, which seems very strange for us because we spend most of the time telling you to get off Twitter. Can I have the next slide, James? James has disappeared.
There we go. Sorry, my mouse was on the wrong screen.
Can I have next slide? There you go. Cool. Okay, so on that one, it doesn't really fit into the model of semesters, but I'll pretend it does. 3D modeling. So most of the games that you play are 3D. We use 3D Studio Max, which is an amazing piece of software. One of the best things is, from a student point of view, is you can get it for free on an academic license. So it's normally about £3,000 per seat. So that's quite nice. And 3D environments animation. So making an environment, making it interactive, using Unreal, and animation, animating entire objects, animating characters. We've invested a heck of a lot of money a scary amount of money, I would say, in motion capture suits. So we have actually got professional standard motion capture suits. So you can basically make your character floss or dab or do something decent instead. So that's a really exciting unit. In the skill side, digital media skills is making a game, but again, working to a brief. So you get a brief and you have a certain amount of time to make a game. It doesn't sound that interesting the way I've described it. Actually, the students' feedback on that one is it's one of their favourites because they get to use a real world sort of scenario and also a bit of their own creativity. And the software that we use on that has also proved to be really good fun. Concept art, which is one of my favourites. So designing environments, characters, the stuff that you see in a game that makes a game interesting, that really nails it home. You don't need to know how to draw. You need to know how to be willing to improve, using digital techniques as well to create these concepts and to communicate them. I know in Worcester, and I realise that this is that unit is actually substituted for I think it's computer games scripting, so they do a bit more scripty stuff over in Worcester. Forgot to put that in the PowerPoint. And then the final one, subject specialist investigation, that is research to a professional level, learning the skills. So things like market research, industry research, surveys, questionnaires, based on a question. And again, this is one that we get through exam conditions, but it's not that scary. That last year, the subject was the effect of violent media products on 16 to 19-year-olds. And as you can imagine, our students had strong views on that, and they were able to do lots and lots of research and get lots of interesting input from people through their questionnaires and surveys, but also through their reading and their deeper research. And working in the media industry, that's about understanding the industry, how it's structured, where the money comes from, how we communicate, but also how we as an individual can become a better professional. So things like our CV, our portfolio, and our presence on social media. So if you want to market yourself as a creative individual, you've got to have a presence. You've got to be able to show people that you can talk the talk, that you are a creative, technical person. So it's all about that sort of stuff. So that is, I'm just making sure that I haven't got no more questions have popped in. No, cool.
I think that's it, and it's back to me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's back to me. So hopefully that's giving you a flavour of all the different courses. Appreciate that was quite long-winded because that's a lot of courses. That's level 2 and level 3 for both computing and for the digital media with games design courses that we run here. So hopefully that's giving you a flavour. Please feel free to ping us any questions. This recording will also be available to you afterwards as well. So if you want to just flick back and just catch up on any of those things, feel free. Okay, so the next few bits, I'm just going to go over the other elements to your study program. We have already touched upon this, but with English and maths, if you do not come to us in September with a grade 4 or higher in GCSE maths or GCSE English language, then you'll study those subjects as well. Typically, it is often the case that those students studying with us on level 2 will need to resit both. The expectation to come on to level 3 is that you will have already passed both, but there is a little bit of flexibility that if you slightly narrowly missed maths, for example, but passed English, passed your IT, that you can come on to the IT qualification, for example. So a little bit of flexibility, but we do prefer you, if you're studying level 3, to already have those grade 4s. If you do need to resit them, you'll have a couple of hours a week for the year to go over that particular subject, and that's why we sort of ideally that could add another 4 hours onto the program. One of the reasons we asked level 3s to have already passed that. If you did narrowly pass, and this is sort of a little bit of a heads up, so when you get your certificates in August, you will see the grade. If you do get a grade 3, don't be too despondent. If when you contact the school and you see your points and you see that you're only sort of within 3-4 marks of getting that grade 4, there is an opportunity for you to do the resit and actually sit in an exam in November. We need to get that sorted really early on when you start in September with us. So we do need you to be quite proactive in getting back to the school, finding out the point score, being able to show us to show us that you were within a couple of points of getting that grade 4. You can then attend a resit in November. What we then ask, if you do that, you continue attending the classes up till those November results are known in January. Hopefully you will have then got your grade 4 and you can stop attending that English or maths class. Obviously, if you haven't quite got that grade 4, you continue attending with the intention of sitting the resit in the sort of May, June time. Okay, so English and maths you attend, it is a condition of funding. What that means is the government who pay your tuition fees on your behalf only pay those tuition fees if you either already have a grade 4 or are attending classes working towards achieving that grade 4. Okay, so it is a mandatory part of the course. The tuition fees don't get paid unless you either have the 4 or are attending classes to do so. What that means is if you have achieved a grade 4, we absolutely need to see that certificate really early on so that we can say to the government, yep, we're good, please give us the money because you've achieved that grade 4 already. Okay, so that's English and maths. I will move on and talk about work experience, and I think we did talk about this early on, and it's one of the really important parts, and certainly as we go onto the level 3 program particularly, where you might be thinking about getting a job in the industry after level 3. Some students do progress, in fact a lot of our students do progress onto higher education, undergraduate study. Certainly if you're interested in finding out about our undergraduate study, Peter and I are taking part, I think it's starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon, where we're doing a talk specifically about our higher education courses, and a lot of our students do go on to those. However, we do have a number of students who then go on and gain employment working within the sector. And part of what helps you prepare for that is obviously studying the main qualification, getting English and maths qualifications, but also getting relevant experience in that industry. So therefore, the work experience scheme we offer is a really important part of that programme. As I mentioned earlier, we have projects, so employers will be coming along and will be sponsoring a project. We've got one, for example, for our IT students in Worcester and in Redditch, where they will be working with sanctuary housing and looking at sort of smart home technology, quite an exciting project there. We've got another one come through from, I think, an architects, where we're looking at 3D models being created, and our media students will be working on that. So some live projects that have the potential to go live into different employers. Part of that can include volunteering or paid employment, like I said earlier, as long as it's vocationally relevant. So it has to be digital, can't just sort of be sort of retail type paid work. Part of that, we give you that CV, an interview practice. We make sure that you're preparing to seek employment. We have employers coming in doing either conferences or interactive workshops. All sorts of things go on throughout the course. Our level 2 students do 30 hours total of different projects. And as explained earlier, our level 3 students do 300 hours in total. Like with English and maths, participation in work experience, though, is another condition of funding. So in order to get your tuition fees paid, we have to show the government that we are providing that work experience, and therefore it is a mandatory part of the course. It is part of the course that you have to complete in order to be able to pass. Okay, the last component part that I want to talk about is the online and private study. This is a really important part of any digital course. Digital, computing and game design are massively changing industries over the years. The sort of the Peter talked about, for example, motion capture suits that we've bought. Who'd have thought only 2 or 3 years ago that it would be absolutely sort of in the common sort of place for motion capture to be a part. So there's technologies that we can only dream about now. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, as you qualify and get your first job in the industry, will be commonplace. So it's a really important skill to learn how to learn and to learn how to use software. So online learning is a mandatory part of the timetable. As I explained earlier, we don't yet know what the balance of sort of teaching will look like in September, dependent upon what government guidelines are in September. However, there will be an element of online learning on the timetable anyway. We use LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning was LinkedIn bought it off lynda.com and Microsoft acquired it about a year ago, and it's being brought into sort of the Microsoft community. So for those students who've been through school using Teams, for example, or using Office 365, LinkedIn Learning very much a component part of that, and it's hours and hours and hours of tutorials on all sorts of different skills and software that you can learn. You then can earn badges that go on your LinkedIn profile. They showcase the skills that you've developed over your time and indeed beyond your time with us to be able to show prospective employers. So a really important part of the program.
Okay, how many James on that?
Of course.
So the LinkedIn thing, it cost us a lot of money. Obviously, you'll be given stuff as part of your online study program, but I've had some students who, when they were faced with the shutdown and going home, they wanted to learn other things that weren't part of the curriculum, but were related. So we do a lot of 3ds Max, but they wanted to use Blender. So they started following a Blender course. And these are properly accredited courses, and they can go on your CV. They do add a lot of weight, and the fact that you've got access to that full range. So it could be something to do with your course. It could be that you want to be better at time management, or even improve your singing, believe it or not. I haven't done that one yet. So there's a whole the amount of material available on there is absolutely huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I now want to talk to you a little bit about the support that you'll get. So I'm going to bring Alex into the conversation now. Alex is one of our 3 personal tutors, 2 of which are here today. You'll have Alex, who supports our students in Bromsgrove, Tina, that supports our students here in Worcester. We have a lady called Andrea, not with us today, who supports our students if anyone's looking to study in Redditch, but I'll let Alex talk to you about the support that the personal tutors offer.
Thanks, James. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about my role at the college, and really my role is a day-to-day interaction support role. You'll have other support workers who are at the college who are available to you, but you'll most likely be interacting with me daily throughout your week. So part of that is actual formal tutorials. You'll have 2 different types. So you'll have a group tutorial and you'll have a one-to-one tutorial as well. So a group tutorial is like a lesson similar to just a traditional lesson with myself. And it covers a range of things really, from university and progression to drug awareness to anything that's going on in the world, which maybe I feel is important, or you guys have come up to me and said, actually, I think it'd be worthwhile talking about this. And we kind of use it as a forum to not only educate, but to kind of have discussions and just talk about things as a class. We have one of those a week, which will be on your timetable. It'll be a timetable tutorial in the same room every week. And then you'll have a one-to-one as well. They won't be every week. You'll be designated a one-to-one slot with me, and it'll be at least one every half term, but probably more than that. And we will go through various things in those one-to-ones, depending on the time of year. But for the first one, it'll certainly be about how you're getting on, how do you think you're bedding into college, any worries or concerns that you might have. We'll just have a chat, basically. It's important as a personal tutor for you to be able to approach me and talk to me. If you don't feel like you can do that in a personal sense, you can always email me and speak to me digitally if you prefer that kind of interaction. But I know that most of my students right now will just kind of give me a shout in the corridor or whatever and just say, "Oh, can we have a chat later on?" And then I'll kind of just say when I'm free, and we'll have a chat in addition to your formal one-to-ones as well. So it's important that you feel that you can converse and get out any problems that you might be having, especially in those first 4, 5, 6 weeks, definitely. So we'll have those two different types of tutorials. Right now, as of yet, we don't know how the one-to-one tutorial will be working. Traditionally, it would be in the library or in a classroom, and if you weren't sitting down with me having a conversation, you'd be working on assignment work or possibly some work experience or something that you know that you need to do. You'll be focused on that whilst I'm speaking to another member of your class. I think, James, did you go back a slide, please?
Sorry, have I got a bit excited and skipped?
I think you may have slightly excited, yes. So during those chats as well, we were talking about progression, what you want to do after college, and it may be that you're on the level 2 and it's very, very simple and you just want to go on to level 3. Well, that's fine. We need to make sure that you're on track for doing that. Perhaps you're on the level 2 digital media and you want to move over to TV and film. We have a couple of those this year. Luckily, I'm the lecturer on TV and film, so that's also quite a straightforward process. But it could be that you want to go and do something totally different, like you want to go over and do actually I fancy going into performing arts. If that's the case, perfect. We'll have a chat together. I'll arrange a meeting with somebody from the performing arts team, and we'll try and facilitate that move. It's good for you to get into the habit of talking to me earlier on about progression and what you do want to do from an earlier stage, especially in level 2. In level 3, we would hope that you would progress on to the second year of the course and are excited about the second year of the course. So I think most of our students go on to that second year. That's certainly where we would be expecting you to go to. Okay, so if you can move on to the next slide now, please, James. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I monitor behind the scenes as well as in class and with you guys. Things such as attendance, work. I speak to your lecturers all the time and we kind of have conversations about how you're getting on. It would be attendance to English and maths as well. There'll be lots of conversations regarding that, especially if you're not going. And really, I would be the first port of call for like if things maybe aren't going so well. So if you're not attending English, I would be coming to find you and say, well, what's the problem? Why aren't you going? And try and encourage you and get you to see the worth of going to English, which it is very, very worthwhile. So obviously, I try and keep those more negative conversations to a minimum, but sometimes we do have to have that little bit of a motivating chat at times. So I will be that person who will be kind of chasing you up if there are elements to college life which could be improved, up until it progresses further, perhaps. So we will have meetings. We'll be using this system called ProMonitor a lot. Now, I mean, maybe originally a couple of years back, ProMonitor might have been thought of as something just for the lecturers and the teaching staff. But that's not the case anymore. We encourage students to use it as much as we use it. It's a really, really valuable site that allows you to see your projected grades, see any feedback from lecturers, check your attendance, check comments from me. It might be something to do with a trip that James has organised and he's put like a bit of a note on ProMonitor with some information on there. All sorts. We will get you to grips with ProMonitor in the first week or 2 of college, so don't worry right now about, oh no, it's terrifying. It's really simplistic and very self-explanatory. I'm sure you'll be able to master it if I have. And what else have we got? Oh, targets as well. That's an essential part of Promonitor, where we just make sure that you know what your targets are for maybe that half term or the year in general. We can help you achieve those targets as well. We'll introduce you to Promonitor when the time comes, don't worry about that. Again, like I said at the start, I am basically kind of like the front line with your lecturing staff, and any issues that you might be facing. Let's say that you do not know what you want to do after you complete the level 2. You feel that you might want to go and get an apprenticeship or go and do get a career, then I'll be referring you to the people who will help you with that. Let's say that you think that you might have dyslexia and you're very concerned that it's stopping you from achieving to the best of your ability. Then I would say, well, there's an issue, there might be a potential issue there, and I would refer that over to the personal learning coach, who would then investigate that further. So essentially, when you come to me with a problem, if I don't have the answer and I'm not sure of the answer, then I'll refer that to specialists who will have the answer and who will be able to help you out with that. You can also self-refer with some of these things like welfare. You can refer yourself through the college portal. We'll go more into that when you actually start college, and we have our introductory tutorial, so don't worry too much about that. Is that the end of my thing?
I think it is. Thank you very much. And probably a nice segue so we can talk about some of the other support services that we offer. And if I will so introduce you to Vicky. Vicky's one of our personal learning coaches, and she's going to talk to you about the support you might get from a personal learning coach. Thank you, Vicky.
All right, thank you, James. So yeah, I'm one of the personal learning coaches based in Redditch. So like Alex just said, you might already start working with me because you've declared a learning need at interview stage. So for example, it might be dyslexia, autism, anything like that, any kind of disability that means that you've got additional learning needs. If it's declared, I'll be getting in touch with you either before the end of July or it'll be towards the beginning of September to try and figure out what that level of support is that you've already had at school, what level of support you would like to have moving up to college if you need help with the transition to college, even things like just anxiety about starting college, anything like that. The personal learning coaches would be the people to come to about it. So the type of support that would be figured out individually at the beginning of term, but the different kinds of support that we can offer are things like one-to-one support, might run workshops for English or maths. It might be assignment help, so you might just need help with figuring out an assignment. You might just not understand the assignment. You might want to go through it a few times before you start work on it. You might want to get it checked over before you submit it. It might just be a simple case of time management. You might be really struggling to kind of figure out what's due in when, getting in a bit of a muddle with it. So, you know, we can help with things like that. All of the planning, prioritising and all of the deadlines. So again, if you were struggling with that, you could either go to your personal tutor or come to one of the personal learning coaches. You'd be assigned somebody at the beginning of term anyway. So you'd come to one of us and we'd start to look at what we can do. Can you go to the next slide for me, please, James? Thank you very much. So in terms of additional learning needs, so if you've declared something, it may be that you've already been having support throughout school. So you might have had a teaching assistant in school. If that's the case, you may well be allocated a learning support assistant throughout college. So you might have some one-to-one support throughout lessons. We've got access to you know, you might be given a laptop or an iPad to help you, might be able to use the laptop in class in English, for example, rather than trying to write everything out. We've got things like reading pens, which help people with dyslexia. So it might be that you've used one of those already at school. We'd be able to arrange for you to have one of those in college. We can also help with exam access arrangements. So, for example, if you've previously had extra time allocated to you for exams, if you've been allowed to have rest breaks during exams, if you have somebody doing the writing for you exams, anything like that. If you've already had it, we'll try our best to continue it. If you feel that you need it again, we'll try our best to get it for you. And And so really we're just there for any kind of support, for any need that you might have, so that everybody's on an equal footing to reach their potential, really, to get the most out of the course and to be able to progress throughout their time in college. If there's anybody that I have been trying to get in touch with to complete a support plan, if they've requested support at interview, I will continue trying to get hold of you. If anybody wants to get in touch, please do so. If not, then we'll get it all sorted out in September at the beginning of term.
Fabulous, thanks Vicky. And
Thank you, James.
Before we move on, really interesting to hear Alex and Vicky. So, but we have one personal tutor and one personal learning coach at each of the 3 campuses. So if you're at Bromsgrove, you will have a personal tutor, Alex, but supported by the personal learning coach, Emma. If you're at Redditch, you will have a personal tutor, Andrea, supported by Vicky as the personal learning coach, and Worcester sitting in the background, but both on mute at the moment, which is actually quite unusual for both of them. Tina, the personal tutor, and Laura, the personal learning coach. So I've just asked one of the tutors and one of the coaches to give you an idea about the services they offer, but you will have that service at whichever of the 3 campuses you're on. So we're now going to talk about some of the other support that you might get outside of the classroom. And I'm going to ask Jan. Jan represents our student advice centre. And Jan, probably with a little bit of interference from me, no doubt, as we go along, will talk to you about the different support that we might offer outside of the classroom. Thanks, Jan.
Good afternoon. Okay, my own personal job, I am one of the bursary administrators and I have 2 colleagues at Worcester. I cover Redditch Bromsgrove. Katie and Lee cover Worcester, but I'm going to talk to you about all the services that we can offer. First of all, welfare. We have an incredibly good welfare team at college. They are on all the campuses, the same as the learning coaches, and they can help you with a variety of issues. If you really feel that you need to talk to somebody on a personal level that maybe perhaps your personal tutor can't help you with, or you'd like to talk to somebody unconnected to your course, then you can go down to see them. Or alternatively, your personal tutor can refer you if they think that the need you have is greater. You can do it by the self-help button on the student portal, or pop into one of the student lounges and go and see a member of staff, bearing in mind that they may actually be busy with another student. So perhaps see them or just leave a little note for them, or we can always give you their email addresses and you can pop them an email. Okay, they are based on all campuses, like I say. Okay, next slide. Okay, careers team. Again, we've got them on all 3 sites. They can help you, as it quite so said on the slide, really help for your opportunities for learning and looking for work. Very importantly, a big thing they've been doing recently is the UCAS applications with personal statements. They can help you with those. They will read through them for you. The smart action plans, that's when they'll get a little chat with you. I think they do class talks. I think they do one-to-ones. And they go through what you would like to do and obviously what your realistic choices are. CV support and tips for job searching. Very handy, and careers coaching to help you achieve those goals. We have done one-to-one. I've spoken to one of the careers teams this morning. At the moment, they're not 100% sure how they're going to manage this, because in the past they've always been in a private little room so nobody else can hear you, but with COVID at the moment that's impossible. But no doubt come September they'll know where they stand and they will have something in place for you. You can get hold of them. There is an online button, and I think when you go into Moodle, you can ask for a referral to them, or you can email the careers team at Howe College. Alternatively, if you pop down to the advice centre, we can't book you an appointment with them because they keep their own diaries, but we can by all means take your contact details and give them that message. So when they come in or they've finished their interviews, they can get in touch with you and can arrange an appointment for you. Okay, thank you. Student union. Okay, the student union, they deal with sort of the extracurricular activities, the fun things, basically. Again, they're down in the student lounges, or the subs as they're now called. There's a team there. If there's anything that you're interested in, if you think you'd like to perhaps set up a football team or a rugby team, just pop down and see them. They're fun people, and they're the people that set up the Freshers' Day, get everyone in to see you. Again, always there for a quick chat if you want to go and see them, and there's their email address at the bottom if you think there's anything they can help you with. They're also very connected to the student union, which we have, I understand, but correct me if I'm wrong here, James, it's not obviously my strength, but I understand each class has a student rep. Is
That's
that right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So and that brings us on to Learn a Voice.
Yeah. So each class has a student rep. They are called to meetings, and if you feel uncomfortable about speaking about something, but you think your rep could do it for you, obviously go to them and they will bring it forward to the union or the necessary departments and act on your behalf, put your case forward, or if there's a class, sometimes a class have a comment to make, they will put that forward. There is a student union. I'm really sorry, I don't know a vast amount about the student union, but I think again that's just representatives from the college. And very importantly, on the Board of Governors, we do have student governors. You will be asked at some point, you'll have somebody saying, vote for me, a bit like Boris Johnson, and then you'll vote, because obviously they're a very important role. They can put the students' point of view to the governors, mostly the governors being people outside of college. It gives them, an idea of what the students are thinking and working. Again, come September, somebody will talk to you more in depth about this side of things. I'm just sort of giving you a quick overview. Okay, next one. Okay, this is my area. Okay, financial support. Okay. It's governed by household income. It's government money we're giving away and we are accountable for it. But basically we can help you with your travel, a meal allowance, your mandatory uniform and equipment cost for your course, mandatory trips, and if necessary, if you have childcare requirements, we can help you. Now, if the household income is under £25,000 gross, we can help you with all of those. For travel, you must live over 1.5 miles from your nearest campus. They'll check that on Google Maps if you are asking for travel assistant. College meals, we put a meal allowance on your student badge every day. If you don't spend all of it, the balance does not carry forward. It's just a set amount every day. So if you have got free meals, it's absolutely vital you remember your student badge, because otherwise you can't eat and you can't get around the building. And possibly you may be challenged by security or a member of staff asking you who you are, and we're asking you to prove that, or we'll contact your personal tutor or a tutor. This is major safeguarding. We cannot have people walking around our campuses that shouldn't be there. If you need mandatory uniform or equipment, then and you apply for bursary, we must have the receipts to be able to refund you. So you pop those on. And childcare, there are two. If you are 20 and under and you require childcare cost, you apply to the government website to what they call Care to Learn. And if you are over that, then you apply to the college funds and the college will pay the childcare costs for you. That is for incomes under £25,000. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we do have what they call the vulnerable adults. Now, usually those are students who are in care or have just left care, live independently, and support themselves with income support or universal credit, or as an individual they receive either universal credit together with either DLA or PIP. You've got to have one of each, just not one. We have a lot of people just get PIP and think they're in the vulnerable tier. They're not. They have to get universal credit in their own right. Unfortunately, since this slide was done, there have been changes today. but we can award you up to £12,000. Now, as it says there, from that £12,000, if you require the 3 terms of travel support, that will come from that, as will the mandatory uniform and equipment costs, your meal allowance and any trips. Some of you listening may have had this year, academic year, and you had up to 1,200 and these on top. Unfortunately now we've got to take the cost of the travel, the meals, equipment from the £1,200. Okay. If you are in care or a care leaver, all we need from you is a letter from your social worker or the local authority that you are attached to, just to confirm that you're in this position. We do not need evidence of household. Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify on that, Jan, I think you got a bit excited at the beginning and said 12,000. Unfortunately,
sorry,
folks, it is £1,200 for the vulnerable.
Sorry, I'd like to add another nought on, but
wouldn't we? But unfortunately, 1,200.
Sorry, 1,200. Thank you, James. Sorry. Okay, the travel scheme. This is where your household income is over £25,000. But under 45, we are able to help you with your travel to college. Again, the same rules. You must live over 1.5 miles from your nearest campus. We do check your attendance and your engagement regularly, as we do with the other bursary. It is limited. It isn't a guaranteed fund. Okay, if with this category we do get people that need fuel allowance, you can apply for that. With both schemes, we can help you with bus and train passes as well as, but like I say, if your income's over 25 and under 45, we can actually help with those high travel costs. Okay, I think I've got one more left. Yes, I thought I did. Okay, let me talk about how the travel scheme works, because that's always quite a big question. If you live within Worcestershire, okay, and you require a bus pass, we need you to register with Worcestershire County Council for that bus pass. You will pay for the first term, and then we will reimburse that money to you once we see that you've provided us with a receipt. We will then purchase the second and third term on your behalf. If you are coming in by train, again, you must apply to the West Midlands Railway for your bus pass, train pass, sorry, and pay for it. Provide me with a receipt, we'll refund you, and then we'll again buy terms 2 and 3. If you live in Redditch and you need to get to the Bromsgrove campus and you're over 1.5 miles from Redditch, we will provide you with a bus pass to get to Redditch, and then you will use the intercampus bus to get to the Bromsgrove campus. To use that bus, you must have your student badge to get on and off the bus. Okay. If you live outside of Worcestershire, I have a lot of students in Warwickshire and the Birmingham areas, then come and speak to me, because the rules are slightly different. I can't always buy you a travel pass. You will need to go direct to, for example, Stagecoach, which is Warwick. Within Birmingham, they do something called the Swift card. So you buy the Swift card and have on a train pass, but you have to arrange that yourself. All I can help you there with funding, but I can guide you as to where to look. Okay. Childcare, I think I mentioned earlier. If you're under 20 at the start of the course, you need to apply to Care to Learn. They will contact me to confirm you are a student. They'll contact the nursery. Then Care to Learn will deal with us on a monthly basis and pay the nursery on your behalf. It's done by attendance. If I say, no, you're not attending, they won't pay for your nursery fees. If you're over 20, then you apply through the Learner Support Fund. The forms are online. You take that to the nursery. They complete the details of the days you have in the nursery, the cost. That's got to balance with your timetable. We will then talk directly to the nurseries and pay on your behalf, but your attendance is checked monthly. And again, if your attendance drops very low or not at all, we will immediately stop the funding. And if you've been taking the child, then you will be eligible. You will have to pay those fees. The college won't pay them for you. Okay, myself and Lee and Katie, we all work part-time, But so if we're not there, you can leave a message for us. If it's something very urgent, talk to one of the other advice team. They will either help you or pass it on to our manager, and then we'll be able to help you. We have our own emails, and we have sort of general emails, student finance at Howe College, etc. Okay, and the most important thing, if you are going to apply for bursary, the first thing Lee, Katie and I will look at is the household income, because that's what governs it. So if you, your family, receive a tax credit, we need to see all the pages of the tax award notice on there, because there is information on those pages that we need to make sure that we give you the correct amount of money that you are entitled to. If you receive universal credit, we need to see the full breakdown, not just one page saying you get this amount this month. We need to see how they've calculated that breakdown. It does have a huge bearing on meals, particularly, especially as the government have been funding students while they have been on furlough from the college. It does make a big difference whether we can continue to help you or not. If you do not receive either of the above, then we would need 3 recent pay slips or your P60 from April, May time. Okay. And on the form, you do need to fill in the gap that says, why do you need that help? Please do not leave it blank. All the forms are now available online. So if you go on to Student Life, then Student Finance, scroll down. If you're one of the courses James has talked about, your further education, so you're looking for FE, and the form is online. Unfortunately, we're not printing them. Everything, because we're all working from home, is online. If you're an HE student listening in, then you apply to one of the higher education, the HE forms, and that funding. Slightly different rules there, but the forms are there for you. Okay, and I think, is that my last one, James?
It is indeed. So it's back to me just to finish off then now. Okay. So I said I'd try and be about an hour and a half, and we are just 5 minutes short of that. So thank you very much for bearing with us. That was an awful lot of information we have given you. The recording of this will be made available. It's on this, so if you go back into this event from your calendar invite, you will see that. I will also post up the last slide you will see will be email addresses. You'll have my email address, so feel free to ping me an email and I can send you the slideshow afterwards. But I thought it's just worth looking at a couple of key dates. I will aim to try to do another, hopefully slightly shorter session with some more up-to-date information about what September will look like, and that balance between sort of in-class and online learning. But certainly our induction week is the week of the 7th of September. So if you're looking at booking holidays, you're looking at booking time away, be prepared to be back in as of the 7th of September. Okay, that will be a 2-day induction. During that week, you will get a letter in the post. You'll get, or probably more likely, it will be an email, I should say, over the summer outlining all of those details. But the week of the 7th of September will be our 2-day induction. And then teaching starts the following week, Monday the 14th. I've included there the dates for each of the 6 half terms. I'm not going to read them all out. You can see them on the screen and on the PowerPoint afterwards, but we do, where possible, follow the school half-term break. So we have 6 weeks of teaching. We have a week or 2 weeks off for the half-term break. We then have Christmas and Easter, and then we finish for the year, gosh, 2nd of July 2021. So give or take this time of year. We've just said goodbye to our students from this year. This time next year, we'll just be saying, well done, you've passed, hopefully, and saying goodbye to you for a couple of months. Yeah, in 12 months' time. So
that's
sort of
mentioning, James, about the October half term being different this year. Actually,
good point. So yes, so the February and the May half terms are the week long. The October half term The half-term break is between Saturday the 24th and Sunday the 8th of November. Actually, that's a 2-week half-term break this time round. Whole variety of reasons, but it's a 2-week break at October. Yeah, good point, Peter. Thank you. And then the last slide, I've just tried to put up some of the contact details there. So if you've got any sort of general course inquiries, if you want to follow up information about sort of what we've talked about today, the course content, or generally anything to do with the curriculum, my telephone number is on there, but I'll be honest, I am very rarely at my phone. You are much better off sending me an email. My name is James Duckhouse, so my email address is jduckhouse@howecollege.ac.uk. If you want to get in contact with either the personal tutor or indeed the personal learning coach, contact in the first instance the personal tutor. That's Alex in Bromsgrove, Andrea in Redditch, and Tina in Worcester. And I've put up their numbers and email addresses as well. And if you have any sort of questions about finance, careers, welfare, or admissions generally, you can contact Lena. Lena is our customer services manager, and she manages the team through the finance folks like Jan that you've met today, and the admissions and team as well. And you can see her email address there if you've got any inquiries for that team.
Can I just step in? Sorry,
Of course,
Lena doesn't do careers anymore. That comes under Sal.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good
So
point.
she's finance, nurseries, admissions. It's Sal Friel,
Right.
who is now welfare. So the student union, the welfare team, careers, that would be Sal Friel. She is the manager there.
So thank you. That's a good point. But again, if sure Elena would forward emails, or if you email me, I can forward them on as well. And yeah. Okay. So Peter, is there any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a few more questions for you. And one of them is my least favourite. We had our favourite, now I've got my least favourite. Okay. When will we receive feedback from our summer project?
So the summer projects, if you are working on them, we're asking that you submit them basically. So I know some people have submitted. Thank you for doing that. If you haven't yet, there's still time. What we'll be doing is closing that off round about when GCSE results time comes along in sort of mid to late August. What the staff will then be doing is looking over those, and when you come in for induction time, you will get sort of the opportunity to get some feedback on those. Peter made a really good point when he was talking. For if you're not sure whether the level 2 or the level 3 course is the right one for you, if your grades aren't quite what you thought they might be, that summer project work is a really good excuse for you to say, well, actually, my grades weren't quite as high as I would like, but here's what I'm actually capable of doing. It's a really good way of you showing us your true ability. So you will get feedback on those in the first couple of weeks or so of term.
Okay, thanks, next question. Brilliant. Next question. Do you think we'll need to wear masks and gloves on site?
Honest answer, nobody knows at the moment. We are following government guidance and advice. It is entirely possible that we may be, because it is an indoors place. However, it is entirely possible that the government guidance will not insist that you do that. We will, of course, send out the latest advice and guidance closer to the time. That said, if you feel that you would rather wear a mask, whether or not you are mandated to, you will be welcome to do so. We will be ensuring that social distancing will be allowed within what the government are recommending. It's that balance between we all want to get back to some normalcy, but recognising the most important thing is that we all stay safe.
Yeah, I think there's already a petition going around that I should wear a mask all the time anyway, so that's fine.
I'm not going to comment, but absolutely I would sign that petition.
Final one was Jan mentioned Moodle. Somebody asked what Moodle is. I have explained it already on the text response, but it's just our virtual learning environment. So just think basically a glorified website with all our resources where we submit assignments. As a student, you probably won't see it that often because it will be a link through using Teams, because we found that's been a really effective way of compiling all our resources. But some other parts of the college might point you towards Moodle. Don't worry about it. It's just a website. It's just a strange name.
Like all education places, we use a whole variety of odd words and phrases and acronyms as well, don't we? So
Pay
it's a really
rise,
good
I think, was
question.
one of
Yeah,
them, wasn't it? Yeah.
if only. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'd just like to say thank you very much. I promised an hour and a half. We've been 91 minutes. I have overstepped by probably 30 seconds. Thank you very much for your attention, and hopefully see you all in September. Thank you then, and goodbye.